On Rohatsu. Rohatsu is the Buddhist session done in commemoration of the Shakyamuni's enlightenment beneath the tree. On Rohatsu, it rained all night. Many temptations arose. A beautiful girl, alluring and interested. A chance or two to make a quick buck and let that one make another. Family, filial piety. This boy is bad. He turned away from the ways of his ancestors. And then there was poetry, and plenty of wisdom to sprinkle it with. He touched the earth, true, but no one gave him a seal of approval. And what if he'd kept his mouth shut like a good boy? Family dinners might be easier. Everybody eat the same food. Who knows how the world would have turned out? Just listen to those Buddhas yapping. I should shut up. Okay. Would you please be quiet? Okay. Actually, no. In the morning, it was still raining. The question of psychedelics and their relation to Zen and enlightenment and mysticism goes back to almost to the discovery of LSD. The first edition of the Psychedelic Review had an article, Can These Drugs Enlarge Men's Minds? R.C. Zahner wrote a book, Mysticism, Sacred and Profane, I think it was, where he looked into, is the experience genuine? Is it the same? Is it the same as the, religious experience, which was kind of defined as being genuine? Everybody rolled in on the subject. Alan Watts, Walter Houston Clark, Houston Smith, Ram Dass, and many more recently. The subject seems inexhaustible. And some astonishing extremes in the discussion. We've probably all heard some say that all true religious experience is based on entheogens, and all true religions are entheogenic. Otherwise, they're really placebo religions. One wonders what keeps them all going. In the Buddhist tradition, there are a group of Buddhas, enlightened beings called the Pratyekabuddhas. The Mahayana generally disses the Pratyekabuddhas. They are beings who have achieved enlightenment outside of the Buddhist tradition on their own, somehow. In most Mahayana texts, they're placed as an example of what not to be, or let's go beyond that. But let's look at them a little further. Certainly, looking in my own life and teachers and those who've helped me and pushed me forward, many of the greatest of them were Pratyekabuddhas. They had no credentials. They had no particular lineage. Some of them were occultists. Some were artists. Somehow, through their good karma and their own traditions, many of them from teachers themselves, Pratyekabuddhas, passing along some clarity and insight wherever they could. I think of it as practicing Zen without a license. And we can all recognize that the Pratyeka Buddhas are an honored part of most of our heritage. And I find there seem to be a great many more of them than I originally suspected. In fact, many, many more. And then there are the unrealized Pratyekabuddhas, each with their own wisdom and teaching for us. So I'm going to dedicate these words to the Pratyekabuddhas who have helped me and who help us all. And may we all live up to their high standard. There was a story at the Santa Cruz Zendo in the 60s, I suppose. Everybody was doing zazen on their cushions facing the wall, and a young man with huge eyes came in and looked around and sat down on the cushion for just a short while, and then got up and walked to the altar and rang the bell once and walked out. And the teacher followed him out and looked into his eyes, which I'm sure were deep wells, and said, "Yes, but is it real?" And I think this question was so difficult for our young man to parse, so unthinkable itself, so out of the boundaries, that he got very confused and ran off. And the teacher, as I heard the story, told his students not to take LSD. But there's another way the story could be told. And maybe we should shift the position to a monastery in the mountains. And a wandering monk comes into the temple. All the monks are facing the wall. Walks up to the front, rings the bell once, walks out. The head monk follows him out, goes up to him and says, "Yes, but is it real?" And the monk goes, and walks off. And the head monk experiences great enlightenment. So I've tried to sum up some of the discussion in a short play, and this was in my book Pharmaconosis, and I call it Splitting the Hair, a dialogue of the great world systems. And the characters are Simplicio, a practicer of the true path of psychedelics, and Sagredo, a practitioner of a traditional meditative discipline, let's say Zen. Simplicio. We're for doing it the easy way. Sagredo. The same. What could be easier than the direct and immediate practice of ground state training? Simplicio. True, if it works. But for how long do you have to do it? Years and years, I've heard, and some never get it. Sagredo. It's the same with your way. But even those who do not attain true enlightenment find some peace and inner serenity through our way. Even their health generally improves. They are less predatory, more compassionate. They laugh more and have more poise. Can the same be said of your way? Simplicio. Yes. Well, for some. For others not, I admit. I've seen some who have followed our way for 30 years emerge as great egocentric assholes. Sagredo. Sigh. It's the same for us, I'm afraid. And they always feel so righteous about it. Maybe we should talk about our successes. Simplicio. I'm for that. Some of our adepts are so advanced that they look like ordinary people. You would never know unless you're an adept yourself. Like ordinary people, but maybe with an extra radiance. Otherwise, like everyone else in the world, they work, they play. Like others, but probably with a double life. Besides the day job, they may have a life in the arts. Sagredo. Or in a spiritual practice. Sounds like one of ours. We like to say, in the world, but not of the world. Simplicio. Yes, the other world teaches us that. Sagredo. Tell me, how would you characterize the difference between that world and this one? Simplicio. In the other state, one can experience the unity and the truth beyond selfhood. Also, one can see beyond the perceptual molds that we collectively have reified. How would you state it? Sagredo. What other world? It's right here. You see the intrinsic problem with your approach. Simplicio. You tricked me. You set me up. I'll get back at you when it's time to dance instead of this Zen stuff like being wise. But let me ask you, do you find that there are some who are so ensnared by the illusion that they haven't even glimpsed that there is anything else? Sagredo. There are many such. Simplicio. We have the edge that way. Our poisons have the power to crack open the world. The experience shows people that there is more to the world than they could ever have imagined. And it works on almost everybody, even the deeply cynical. Is it not a good thing to crack the world open? Sagredo. Yes, if it sticks. Simplicio. We say that it is the sticking that is the problem. In our ordinary mind, we forget and we say it's this, it's that. That's the frozen part, the ice cubes, the seeming. Sagredo, touche, you set me up. I saw Sagredo bow and Simplicio bow back. I blinked and they had merged back together into Salviati, who was lounging at the base of a tree, just loafing, chewing on a spear of summer grass. So some of what I was trying to show there is as deep and as clear as the enlightenment and the seeing from psychedelics can be. There is sometimes maybe a difficulty in accepting it as being actually true because of all of the glow, and that it seems like it's an otherworldly truth, that it's a special state, and quite different from, well, this. And so the Zen tradition has worked at opening, clarifying what they call ordinary mind, that in just sitting, working with koans, in ordinary mind, certain very astounding things may be true. And the two practices are not incompatible, though I don't think I know anybody who has had much success doing both at the same time. Maybe somebody could. Gary Snyder told me a story of when he was doing sesshin in Kyoto in the 60s and took LSD at the sesshin, and he says, oh, it was too much. Everything was too perfect. The bells were all at just exactly the right times, and it was all so beautiful. It was just so overwhelming, and everything was perfect. And I said, well, did you get a koan answer? And he says, oh yes, I got a perfect answer. And I said, and did you go to Dokusan, which is where you present your answer to the teacher? And he says, oh yes, and it was a perfect answer, but it wasn't at all the point of the koan. And I've heard this story more than once, and generally in the koan work, which is what I can speak of most from experience, people just focus on that as such a delicate process. It depends on being in a state of extremity. Muman said it is like a red-hot iron ball. You can't swallow it, and yet you can't spit it out. And you just want to hold it like that and hope for a fortuitous accident that will resolve the matter. On the other hand, if LSD may not be the path to Zen, Zen training is certainly excellent preparation for psychedelics. I used to joke, yeah, why be afraid of a bad trip? What would the 3 or 4 hours of hell be to a good Zen student? That's a bad joke. There is a poem that was found on the wall of a cave, perhaps in Tien Shan or on the Silk Road or something, that goes like this. Give up enlightenment. Let yourself be free. See if any of the wild Buddhas frown. Give up enlightenment. Greet dawn with a song. When they say the Buddha's way is the Eightfold Path, they're fibbing. Take what comes, or choose the bell that's blue. When a being needs help, you stoop, or don't. One with Buddha either way. You think you guess my meaning, but I doubt it. You think, at liberty, or do whatever. With half an eye, you'd cut the riddle and be satisfied with less than wisdom. Thank you.